Questions.
Just going back and looking at pick and roll, especially in Saturday's game, where can you guys realistically improve over these last 8 games going into the tournament?
We just got to be a little more consistent in terms of impacting the ball, having active hands, and away from the ball, being in the positioning that we should be in. As the ball is traveling away, you should be pulling into the backside of the defense ready to tag and hit, and not necessarily out hugging your man 23 feet away from the ball.
Do you feel like these guys, it seems like after games they get what they didn't do, that they understand what they were supposed to do and they just didn't do it? Is that, I mean, you've coached a lot of young teams. First, is that the case with this group? And 2, is that normal even at this stage of the season?
That's one of the things that we talk about with a young group. There's a game slippage that's happening, and not just in one particular person, and at different points in the game. And so collectively, everyone has to stay assignment sound, understanding, executing what the game plan is. And it's evident by the conversations that you guys have with them post-game that they are aware of what the game plan was and should be, and it's a thing to go out there and execute it.
Just with the bigs, related to defense, how much of that was just lost development time from Z not being in games for a while, and also with Aaron and Donna missing so much time in the offseason and early season?
At this point in the season, they've all gotten a lot of practice in. I think with the exception of Z, who's really now starting to get his legs under him, understanding the speed of the game, understanding the physicality of the games, and so he would be the only one that I would say that question fits.
Is it hard to match the physicality with this group specifically that you guys are going to see in these other games? I feel like, obviously you had Oscar the last 2 years, you had Lance, you had some big guys who could kind of throw their weight around in practice. Is it kind of not a shock every game, but a little difference when you get in these games?
No, I think, even in particular in the Gonzaga game, I think obviously we gave up a lot of offensive rebounding. 6 of those offensive rebounds were long team rebounds that went to no one. We have to be able to get those 50-50 balls, and that falls on everyone, not just the big guys. A lot of times our guards were out of position, challenging shots and never getting back. We all have to be there. The defensive possession ends when we get the rebound, so everybody's got to be back to help us rebound, not just the bigs. It's everybody's assignment.
Is it? Remember, people say, well, part of that because the guards are looking to get out on the break because you're so good in transition. And that's hurting you on the protecting the defensive glass. Is that true?
There's some to that, which is one of the things that we keep challenging our guys with, is that we have to secure. We can't run until we have the ball, and we have to secure the rebounding. Whether that means we don't get out in transition a few more possessions, so be it.
These guys have all, your young guys, they've all pretty much they're used to success. They've come from winning programs. They've been really good players. How are they handling something like this where things are not going, where they're not used to going through a streak like this?
It's part of growth. It's part of our maturing. It's part of what it's part of a hardening that has to happen for them, for us to be able to have the success that we want to have. And we still have 8 conference games left, and there's a lot of basketball still to be played. But we have to make sure that we're doing the things that we need to do to secure defensive stops and to execute the game plan.
Looking forward to tomorrow. What have you guys seen from Ole Miss on the tape?
Ole Miss is like a lot of the SEC teams. They're experienced. They're good. They like to get out in transition. They shoot the ball extremely well. They cause some matchup difficulties because they'll play a smaller lineup at times, and they got big wings, so it's going to be a good challenge for us. I think that one of the things that we were trying to do against Gonzaga is to defend the three-point line. We know the teams have come in and shot the ball well against us. We've got to do a good job of defending the three-point line and then securing the defensive rebounds to finish off those possessions. thought we did that against Gonzaga. You know, we wanted to cut half of their makes from the three-point line. We just didn't finish off with the rebounding that we needed to.
On that final play against Gonzaga, was it, when you watched it on film, was it so much just that Reed just underthrew the ball, or what else did you all see when you were breaking that down?
That play gives you different options. It's not one particular play that you have to be able to read the options and see what they are. The first part of it is trying to get a layup, and then the rest of it, as it develops, depending on what the defense does. Part of it, Uganda got hung up, and with him getting hung up, arms getting tangled up, his man spun around and wound up being the one that got the steal on that. So, but that play wasn't the play that you know, there were 30 other plays throughout the game, you know, that affected that game. It wasn't just that play.
How much does not having Trey impact those young guys out there?
You know, Trey's a warrior. Trey's been a warrior for us throughout the season, and for a good majority of that time when he was playing hurt, and he was trying to will his impact the team with his will. And you know, you could see his experience, his veteranship, and he's one of our best rebounders out there. Aside from being able to steady and calm everybody on the offensive end as well. So yeah, he's a big piece that's been missing. But it also gives an opportunity for some of these other guys to step in and step up, and you know, that's why they're here. They're here to be able to take advantage of those opportunities. Some guys have done that.
Along those lines, what are you guys maybe missing from a communication aspect defensively when Trey's not kind of there in the middle with that veteran experience?
Yeah, communication is two parts to it. It's the talking part and it's the listening part. And you know, sometimes with the impact of the intensity of the game, the atmosphere, and I have to say, you know, to our fans, we got to credit our fans. Our fans have been unbelievable at home, and we appreciate that. We need them to continue to do that and continue to support this young team as we continue to work to try to win games, because they do have an impact. And so we have to talk louder. We have to be able to listen and react quicker because of the intensity of the game, and that's where some of the slippage happens. And as the intensity elevates and the noise elevates, you have to focus in a little bit more.
At Ole Miss, Chris Beard, actually his first year, none of them had a really good defenses. This year they've been really good on offense. What do you think of when you think of what a Chris Beard team looks like?
Physical, defensive impact. But this team, like you said, they've got offensive tools. They got offensive weapons. Matt Morrell is obviously a guy that's been in this league and has been one of the top offensive players in the league for years. Flanagan, as a grad now, is also a matchup problem. Big guard that can play multiple positions. You know, Breakfield's been there forever as well. He's another guy that poses challenges. You know, the point guard Juju Murray, we got a chance to play against him a few years ago when he was at St. Peter's. So they've got a good group, a good team. Obviously, it's by their record it shows, and where they're at right now in the conference, and it's going to be a great challenge for us, and another opportunity for us to go out there and play a good team and try to get a win against a good team.
Coach, in these last couple games, you see some of our bigs compared to the other team's bigs, they look a lot different. What can Aaron, Ugo, Big Z do down low to play better on defense when you're giving up 20 pounds?
You know, it's hard to look at it that way. We don't look at it that way because there's 5 guys out there, and as a collective group, we put our talent up against anybody else's. There's strengths that they have, each one of them individually, that's unique to them, and we've got to put them in position for them to have success, and we'll continue to try to do that. You know, giving up 20, 30 pounds, that's okay if it's in other sports. In basketball, you have to be able to be physical for a shorter period of time. You have to be able to drive them out on box outs for a short period of time. And then collectively, everybody has to be able to help out to be able to get, while those guys are maybe wrestling with someone that's 15, 20 pounds heavier than them, our guards can come in and help them get secure rebounds. I think what Adu has done, Justin has continued to improve defensively and help us in those areas. Obviously, getting Trey back, it's going to help us immensely. So we have other ways of being able to help our big guys.
Piggyback off that, when we spoke with him after the game, kind of mentioned how he could have maybe done better, even though, in my personal opinion, he did better physicality-wise than most of the players on the team. What type of leadership role do you think Adu has on this team in terms of being more physical, being more gritty on defense?
And Adu's got obviously experience compared to some other guys. We're needing that. We're asking that of him, and he's got to continue to. I mean, he was phenomenal. He did a lot of great things, but each of them all had a little bit of an area that they could continue to improve. At times, we get caught up watching the ball instead of looking to go hit a man. If we go out secure, hit a man before we go pursue the ball, then it's going to give us a higher percentage to secure the defensive rebound and be able to get out in transition.
You guys have obviously dealt with players being in and out of the lineup availability-wise all season long, but with only 8 games left in the regular season, how do you guys as a coaching staff feel about the rotations and maybe the ability to have 8 or 9 guys who are going to get into the game each night, or is that just fluctuating because you don't have players available?
Well, that's every coach's challenge when you're dealing with injuries, and those guys are injuries are part of the game. And when someone's out, it gives somebody else another opportunity to step in, like a Jordan Burks who came in at Vanderbilt, made the most of his opportunity. Actually came in the Gonzaga game, gave us some great energy and great fight, grit. So you just have to have enough depth that you can sustain and deal with injuries as part of the process of being on a team in a long season.
Coach, remember a time in your career here at Kentucky where this was the case? You haven't had a game where everyone's at full strength all season long, or not at full strength all season long, excuse me?
It's hard to think about that now. I mean, we've had seasons where obviously we've had some challenges with some injuries at different points in the season. I just think you take every season as it is and try to make the most of it, and you put the players in the position to go try to have success.
With Trey being out, and you just said briefly about Jordan, what have you seen with his impact of his role in the past few games?
Jordan?
Yes.
Jordan's been great. Jordan's been a kid that had to wait his turn. He's needed the seasoning in practice and in film and watching. His spirit and his heart has been in it, and his activity, his versatility to be able to play multiple positions, defend multiple positions, and he's got incredible, very much like Adu. They have a knack for going and finding and tracking down the ball in traffic, where his length and athleticism make him special. And so we've been extremely pleased with him and where he's been and how he's continued to grow, and looking forward to him getting more opportunities to impact the game the way he has.
Before we talked to Jordan earlier last week, he said that he's really enjoyed playing defense, locking someone up, and that's changed since he was, a star like most of the guys on the team back in high school. Have you seen maybe that kind of switch from offense to defense change in some other players? And is that something that's easy to do with kids that are this young?
It's not easy to do. Like you said, you guys know the roster. These guys have been all very successful with the programs and the schools that they came from, and now they're being asked to sacrifice for one another, which is what we talk about in the recruiting process with them when they come here. Everybody's got to be for each other. Everybody's got to sacrifice a little bit, and everybody's got to star in their role, whatever that role is. And so that takes some doing, that takes some time. But there's not a better coach in the country, and I think in the history of basketball, that does a better job with young players, getting them to understand their role and succeeding in those roles. And so sometimes it happens a little sooner, sometimes it happens a little later, but eventually it happens, and I think Cal doesn't get enough credit for that.
Talked about Justin and Adu. They were part of that lineup that kind of fueled your comeback there in the second half and even took that 6-point lead. But was there a moment maybe when y'all were looking back that maybe you thought Rob could have come in and sacrificed some defense for offense, or was that even a conversation that you all had?
Yeah, we were going back and forth with it, and then it just happens that that group was playing so well. You don't want to mess that synergy up. And not saying that Rob would, but it adds a different element to it. They were really assignment sound. They were really executing well, and we're going to try to keep that unit as much as we could to try to see if we can finish out the game. Then at that point, so many minutes go by, and it's hard then to put someone in. It'd be unfair to them.
You said sometimes it happens a little later, and I know it's probably hard to think back 10, 12, 13 years ago, but do you see any parallels like the way this season has gone with the Julius Randle season, the Brandon Knight season?
There's some to that. I mean, that group was 5 freshmen starting. Obviously, we're not starting 5 freshmen, but the same kind of youthfulness, the same kind of adversity that we faced in that season. It's hard to compare because obviously the conference is way stronger than it's ever been, and that's, looking at it, that's another thing that probably Cal doesn't get enough credit for, and we don't get enough credit for when we first got to the SEC, and how everything is elevated, how the talent's elevated throughout the conference, and it makes for a lot of fun basketball for the fans at the different schools. It makes it a lot harder for the coaches.
Yeah, how different is that, I guess, where there aren't those kind of moments where you can look at the schedule and think, come up for air in this game or this week or whatever. And
You can't in this league. This league is tough. It's tough. You're going to have, 8, 9, 10 NCAA teams, just the way they're playing, the talent level of coaching, and, as a competitor, that's what you want. It gets you prepared for hopefully for postseason. You'll see all kind of different styles. You'll see all kind of coaching philosophies. You're going to see zone. You're going to see pressing. You're going to see matchups. You're going to see all kind of things, and hopefully that gets you prepared. And for us as a young team, we need all those experiences to get us ready and prepared.